Okay, so get this. Back in 1960, a plastic surgeon stumbles upon this just bizarre discovery. And it had nothing to do with surgery, but everything to do with why some of us succeed and others, well, just seem to fail. What he found was that we all have this automatic guidance system built right into our minds. And learning how to use it, that's the real key to unlocking our potential. So today, we're going to dive into the powerful ideas from his classic book, Cybernetics. So it all kicked off with this puzzle that Dr. Maxwell Maltz just couldn't solve in his own plastic surgery practice. See, he could give someone a technically perfect, beautiful new face, but so often their life just didn't change at all. They were still just as unhappy, just as insecure as before, and this drove him to this really profound question. Why would a new face not create a new life? All right, so let's start with part one, the surgeon's puzzling patients. Because the answer, as Maltz was about to find out, had nothing to do with what was on the outside. It was all about what was going on deep inside their minds. And this really just lays out his dilemma perfectly. You see, for some patients, the surgery was absolutely life-changing. They'd become confident, outgoing, they'd build entirely new lives for themselves. But for this other group, nothing changed on the inside. I mean, despite a physically perfect operation, they were still trapped with the exact same shy personality, the same feelings of unhappiness. The surgery itself was a success, but the person, they still felt like a total failure. This whole puzzle led Maltz to his first huge insight, the self-image. He realized that every single one of us carries this kind of mental blueprint of who we think we are, and most of the time, we're not even aware of it. But it dictates everything, our actions, our feelings, our whole personality. So here's the crucial point, right? You can change the face on the outside, but if that internal self-image is still scarred and telling you you're inadequate, then nothing fundamental really changes. Okay, part two, your mind's automatic pilot. So Maltz knew what the problem was, the self-image. But how did it work? Well, he found the instruction manual for this whole internal system in a very unexpected place. And that place was the field of cybernetics. Now, this was a science that was actually developed during World War II, and it was all about goal-seeking mechanisms. So think about self-guided torpedoes or those early interceptor missiles. These machines were designed with one purpose, one target, and they had a built-in mechanism to get there. And for Maltz, a light bulb just went off. He saw this incredible parallel to the human brain. And this is such a brilliant way to understand how it works. So a torpedo is given a target. As it moves through the water, its sensors are constantly scanning, and they provide negative feedback whenever it starts to go off course. The corrective mechanism then automatically adjusts the rudder, bringing it back on track. The key thing here is that it doesn't travel in a perfect straight line. It succeeds by constantly making and correcting tiny errors, kind of zigzagging its way to the final goal, all on its own. Now, this is so important to get. Cybernetics is not saying that we are machines. Not at all. It's saying we have an incredibly powerful machine at our disposal, our brain. We're the operators, We're sitting at the controls. And the science, it's basically the user manual that explains how our internal guidance system works so that we can finally learn how to direct it toward the goals we actually want. So here it is, the core idea. Your brain has a built-in success mechanism, and it works just like that torpedo. Once you give it a clear target, it will work automatically to get you there, constantly correcting its course until it hits that goal. Simple as that. Which brings us to part three, imagination, your secret weapon. Okay, so if we have this amazing success mechanism, how do we program it? How do we give it a target? Well, Maltz's answer is surprisingly simple. You use your imagination. Now, this is probably going to sound a little crazy, but let me ask you, can you actually get better at a skill without ever physically practicing it? I know it sounds impossible, but according to the research Maltz pulls up in his book, the answer is a shocking yes. Okay, just take a look at this study on basketball free throws. You have one group that practiced for 20 minutes a day, and they improved their scoring by 24%. Make sense? Another group did absolutely nothing, and no surprise, they showed zero improvement. But then you have this third group. These guys didn't touch a basketball. For 20 minutes a day, they just sat there and vividly imagined making perfect shots over and over again. And their improvement, an incredible 23%. That is nearly identical to the people who practiced for real. How wild is that? And believe me, this isn't just a one-off thing. Chess champion Alexander Alekhine prepared for his world title match by playing entire games only in his mind for 3 months straight.
Salespeople have used mental role-playing to boost their sales by hundreds of percent. Time and time again, you see it everywhere from sports to business. The principle just holds true. Mental practice gets you real-world results.
So why on earth does this work? Well, the reason is actually pretty simple, but it is so profound. Your nervous system, your brain, literally cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that you just vividly imagine. So when you mentally rehearse something, you're creating experience memories. You're literally building the neural pathways for success before you even do the thing. You're practicing the skill on a neurological level.
All right, so that leads us to our final section, cultivating the winning feeling. How do we take all of this and use it to consistently point our internal guidance system towards success instead of, well, something else?
Okay, first things first, it is absolutely vital to understand that your internal guidance system is neutral. It doesn't have a preference. It's the same machine either way. Now, if you feed it a positive target, a goal of achievement, of confidence, of success, it functions as your success mechanism. But if you feed it a negative target by constantly thinking about past failures and your fears, it becomes a failure mechanism. It will automatically guide you toward the very thing you're trying to avoid. When you start consistently giving your mind a clear, positive goal, you begin to develop what the famous golfer Dr. Keanu Middlecoff called that winning feeling. And it's this amazing state of inner confidence where success it feels inevitable. This isn't about wishful thinking either. It's the natural result of your automatic mechanism locking onto a target and just knowing it can get there. And honestly, if there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Your automatic mechanism is always working. It's never off. It is constantly seeking a goal. That means you have to be the one to give it a positive, worthwhile destination. Because if you don't consciously choose a goal, your mechanism is just going to lock on to whatever is floating around in your head. And a lot of the time, that's our fears and our anxieties. So let's just end on this thought. Dr. Maltz's great discovery is that every single one of us has the world's most advanced guidance system already installed. It's built in, it's automatic, and it's always on. So the only real question, the one we all have to answer for ourselves, is what destination have you given it?